it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. And we are zooming in and focusing in today on a great viewer question, and that is to understand how a malignant narcissist or a psychopath can control you through not listening, through distorting and twisting even the basics, the facts of what you have to say, is a way to always be right. So when someone has an insatiable need to be right, they are really stuck in their own head. They are not engaging in empathy or empathetic conversations or relationships when it goes on for prolonged periods of time and it is chronic. In other words, you don't feel heard, and this person oftentimes is not engaging in listening, active listening, or is constantly only listening to themselves and what they feel is right, so they're not receiving the messages that you have to say. You might be speaking of something as specific as dates, as occurrences, either past or future, and they will negate what you are saying. They will basically reject what you are saying, and you feel a sense of rejection or dejection because you are not being listened to. And this individual has a propensity to always want to be right. In other words, they're not open to emotional exchange. And people who constantly have to be right are always in a defense mechanism. And they're always ready to put their dukes up, defend and justify, and really launch into conflict consciousness, where they thrive on conflict. Conflict meaning that it's me against you, tit for tat, and it's about really kind of pushing and forcing their opinion on others and negating you and how you feel, what you know to be true in the process. It is a horrible feeling to feel that your truth is rejected, to feel that you cannot even speak the most basic of statements without it getting some sort of dejected or lack of approval comment where they feel that they are right about something and they have no empathetic connection to how you're feeling, what you're stating, what you're going through. So you feel a sense of rejection even though you're still in a relationship. And a lot of people really kind of experience this then as self-abandonment. It becomes then turned into a self-sabotage where you feel so minimized through this that you can't really give oxygen to your truth. And really, if you look at truth like a flame, like fire, the element of fire, it needs that air, it needs oxygen to burn. You can't ignite a piece of wood, a piece of kindling in a closed off area where there's no oxygen. It'll smother. It needs, just like when you blow on a flame, it'll help it ignite, as well as there's other things that you can put gasoline to help it ignite. But we're talking about the fact of your truth very much in that sort of flame like experience where if you are not able to air it out, get it oxygen, it becomes smoldering, and then eventually it will go out, and then you feel that you're not in the light. You feel that you're not in the truth. You feel that you're not in your passion because this person has essentially extinguished it. And when we talk about extinguishing, it's that they're not validating or not rewarding it. So just as we were saying in a previous video, you can extinguish certain behaviors through lack of reward, lack of validation, always negating, making you null and void. And so this propensity, the need to be right, in conflict consciousness, which means this person is always ready to engage in the battle. For them, it's like multitasking. They feel alive. They feel charged up. They want to speak their voice, their truth, their opinion. They want to force it on others. And then you, by virtue of the relationship, are required to be their counterforce. And so when we talk about a conflict consciousness, it means that they're constantly on edge. Someone who's constantly on edge and ready to put their dukes up, ready to fight, ready to prove you wrong is, a very, very stressful relationship to try to be around. I really do not recommend existing and living in a day-to-day, conflict consciousness. It's much better to relax into your body and stop all the huffing and puffing and the multitasking and whatever it is that this culture, especially here in the United States, tends to promulgate. In other words, why can't you be walking, looking at your phone, drinking a coffee, making a purchase? There's all this like multitasking, which a lot of people equate with being fully alive. And yes, there is certain times when that is appropriate, but there also comes a time when people engage in this and they're constantly in a conflict consciousness. In other words, they are constantly in a defense mechanism, and then so you are then relating to their coping mechanism and you're not relating to the person. And so really, it's important to understand, I feel in this channel as part of our education or edutainment, as I like to call it, is that it's important that you look at what are my coping mechanisms and what is realistic and appropriate for me. Because when you're caught up in a lot of defense mechanisms, that tends to overwhelm your life and it will burn you out. Peace and harmony. What are, if this person is not listening to you, not engaging with you, and then promulgates you to engage in defense mechanisms, which are meant to protect, to make safe and protect you. So a defense mechanism might be, compulsive spending. In other words, because you don't feel listened to, because you feel dejected, rejected, you go out and then, overbalance your checkbook by $1,000. Compulsive spending, compulsive drinking or drugging, or overeating. In other words, stuffing your feelings because you feel empty, because you feel dejected, not listened to, and you're quote unquote in the wrong, or you don't know, you don't have the right opinion. So then you stuff your feelings, you overeat. You're not eating because you're hungry. They call that emotional eating or emotional spending. It can get you into trouble. If you're an emotional eater, which means you're eating not for nutrition, you're perverting and distorting the act of eating. So you're allowing your emotions to interfere with a healthful, everyday occurrence. And then it can cause you to feel unhappy. I'm carrying extra weight. I feel lethargic. I feel apathetic. I feel like crud. So look at those emotional defense mechanisms, which then you are engaging in as a result of being in a relationship with this individual who is not really listening to you, who does not have empathetic listening. You will know because you feel that there is something missing. There's a gaping hole. Whereas you'll feel that others, they might not be the perfect communicator, but yet you feel listened to. You feel like just by little things that they say, like get some rest, that's okay. You feel that there's some empathy and compassion there. And it's very different than enacted empathy. Malignant narcissists or psychopaths can be the greatest actors. So they can act very compassionate. I mean, it's like they're putting on a show. They're on a stage, get your tickets at the door. They can be very much the showman or the showwoman, where they don't really feel compassion. In other words, they wouldn't sit there with you while you're expressing yourself and not feel contradictory. They would be able to possess their own energy and not have to force it on you. So, specific topics to be avoided, religion, politics. Those are the typical ones that you want to, have off limits. But if you just do not feel listened to, this can become a real problem, especially in relationships with malignant narcissists or psychopaths, and then when you try to approach them, they have a compulsion to feel that they're in the right. They don't feel that they've done anything wrong. They have this sense of entitlement or superiority or arrogance. And then furthermore, it is to understand the effect that it has on you. And if you feel then that they are, they just don't give you the floor. You can't get a word in edgewise. They are not listening to you. They're not giving you eye contact. They're not giving you the time of day. You feel that you're just made invisible. It is a feeling. You're not being oversensitive. It's because you're engaging with someone who is not exemplary in empathy or empathetic listening or compassion. In other words, you can, meet someone, a stranger in the store, who can be highly empathetic or highly sensitive, and you can feel listened to or heard by them. And you can have, a momentary, smile and a warm glance and almost a hug or even a hug because this person gets you, and they feel you, And so it takes a strong, mature person to have their own energy and then not give their energy away or absorb others' energy and have an ability to listen to others. So you feel really accepted by these people. You don't feel, boxed out. You don't feel shut out. You don't feel ashamed. You don't feel embarrassed. And so the malignant narcissist or psychopath will definitely cause you to feel embarrassed by your humanness. In other words, whether you want to, you have something that you want to discuss or just on an everyday conversation, whether it's about a book, a news event, you just don't feel that you have any place, or whatever you say, it's just not attended to, or it's just, brushed aside. So, I apologize if you have felt dejected and then begun to indulge in a lot of defense mechanisms, because of this. So it's to understand, one of the things I want to make clear is the correlation and the cause and the effect of how it creates this, to promulgate and how it ripples into your life. So it's important to deal with the cause, not just the symptom. So it's important to understand the cause is if you're constantly around, quote unquote, the important person or significant other who you've deemed and categorized as such. And if they don't give you active listening, empathy, you're going to feel rejected. You're going to go out to your next, encounter, your next moment in life and feel not listened to. You're going to feel empty. You're going to feel weakened. Then if this goes on for weeks or months or years, then you can see how low self-esteem, codependence is created. You can see then that how the defense mechanisms, the eating disorders, anorexia and bulimia, it is felt directly tied to negative validation, i.e. reflecting that they are inherently flawed or shamed, and they don't deserve to eat. They don't deserve to have nutrition. Then their endorphins, get going awry, and then they get, this high or endorphin feel from over-exercising, from starvation, from purging, from binging and purging. So your electrolytes, and your minerals are way off, and you don't feel in reality. It's a defense mechanism. It's a coping strategy, and it prevents you from being able to really connect with the world. So if you feel like there's something kind of interfering with you and your relationship with others, and you feel this could be the result of a defense mechanism, identify what it is for you and begin to explain to yourself, hey self, it might seem that this is like the right thing to do, for me to over smoke or over drink or overeat or overspend, to be underemployed, to have a wacky sleep schedule, to other coping mechanisms, obsessive compulsive disorder, constant mirror checking, compulsive cleaning, counting of tiles, whatever it is that's obsessive and compulsive for you. It becomes a defense mechanism. In other words, it becomes disproportionate to the need in reality at hand. So identify and say, self, I know you have resorted to this because you thought this would assist you. It's actually not giving you the result with which you had intended. So it's actually better for me to, little by little, to acknowledge and then let go of that defense mechanism and begin to live life, with boundaries and standards, but that you can really be kind of like the you balanced self who's acknowledged and validated, and you don't need to explain and justify yourself. Let go of the need to constantly, be around others who are pushy or forceful. Begin to become comfortable away from those people and begin to get to know yourself, your feelings, your viewpoints, and being able to express them around people who have empathy, who can validate, see you, acknowledge you, and have some respect. Nobody's perfect, but you'll know at least when that component is there, you won't feel so dried out, you won't feel so dejected. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.